All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video. As today we get an update on the status of Demarcus Robinson, one of the newest 49ers. We'll talk about that in just a second. But first, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And they do run out. So get there early, get some brisket. Get some brisket chili. Tell them that Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Claw Daddy Arcades. They're a great follow on Instagram at claw_daddy_arcades to find a location near you. They got brand new locations opening later on this summer at both Capitola Mall in the South Bay as well as Visalia Mall in the Central Valley. And thanks to Claw Daddy Arcades for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. Well, according to TMZ Sports, Niners wide receiver Demarcus Robinson has been sentenced to probation following his DUI case stemming from a November 2024 incident. He was allegedly driving over 100 miles an hour and exhibited signs of intoxication during a traffic stop. Now, the court records indicate that Robinson entered a no contest plea to one misdemeanor count of driving under the influence of alcohol. The judge in the case sentenced him to 36 months of probation and imposed a $390 fine. So TMZ reported as part of the pact with prosecutors, he also must complete several programs, including a MAD victim impact program, Mothers Against Drunk Driving victim impact program, according to TMZ. The Niners signed Demarcus to a 2-year deal back in March, and this is right after they traded Deebo Samuel to the Commanders. So you got the Niners at wide receiver are going to have some questions early in the year. So you got Brandon Ayuk still recovering from the surgery to repair the ACL, the MCL, and the meniscus injuries that he sustained back in Week 7 of last year against Kansas City. He's not expected to be ready for the start of the regular season and may not be ready until, right around Thanksgiving, mid to late November. Deebo Samuel, as we mentioned before, is now a member of the Commanders, so he's no longer there. So this is a great opportunity for Demarcus Robinson to step in and get opportunities here within this 49er offense. So, if you look at the projected starters at wide receiver come week 1, it's Juwan Jennings, and the rookie Ricky Pearsall. They're projected as your week 1 starters. So as far as Demarcus's status for the season opener, at this point, it's uncertain. We don't know his status. The NFL continues to, to think about what they're going to do as far as some kind of a suspension. There's been speculation that a potential 3-game suspension could be coming down related to the DUI incident. So, but the legal process is now finalized. So a decision from the league probably is going to follow, I would imagine, before training camp gets underway. Now, the Niners were totally aware of this when they signed Demarcus Robinson. They knew that, there was a chance for a suspension. Any suspension would make the Niners' relatively thin wide receiver core that much thinner. And it's going to be interesting. I mean, the 49ers, if you look at their depth chart, they're going to have some interesting choices when it comes time to paring their roster down at wide receiver. Obviously, you've got the first-round pick in Ricky Pearsall, and Ricky Pearsall is going to be a major player, you would think, for the 49ers. As a former first-round pick, I would expect Pearsall to step up and be quite a bit better. So you have Pearsall and Juwan Jennings. Those are your starters right away. Now, who's the third starter? Probably Jacob Cowing, the second-year, fourth-round pick out of Arizona, former UTEP and Arizona star. Fourth-round pick last year. Didn't do much in his rookie year, but has looked fantastic in the OTAs and the mandatory minicamp. So I would imagine Cowing maybe gets the first go with Pearsall and Jennings. Hopefully the Niners don't suffer injuries this summer at the wide receiver position. Otherwise, they may have to look outside the organization. They also have fourth-round pick Jordan Watkins from Ole Miss, who really looked good. In fact, ESPN listed one breakout player from the offseason for every team in the NFL. And for the Niners, they listed Jordan Watkins. And I think it was Nick Wagner who made that selection for ESPN. The Niners also have Isaiah Hodgins, who's a trusted veteran. They have Isaiah Nair, who is a very talented, undrafted free agent rookie wide receiver from Nebraska. They have a return guy in Junior Bergen who claims that his goal is to make the Hall of Fame. You got Terrell Owens' son, Tariq. You have Malik Knowles, who gives you some of the elements that Debo did as a special teamer. You have Russell Gage, the veteran receivers in this camp as well. So you got 12 receivers in camp right now. And odds are that Demarcus Robinson is not going to be ready to roll at the beginning of the year, and there probably is going to be some form of a suspension coming his way. And so some of these other guys are going to have to step up. There's no question about that. So his status, Robinson's 30. He appeared in all 17 games for the Rams last year. Didn't miss a single game. In fact, he had 31 receptions for 505 yards and 7 touchdowns. That last number really should intrigue the 49ers. Why? Because if he had been with the Niners last year, those 7 touchdowns would have been second on the team only to George Kittle. There was not a Niner wide receiver last year that scored 7 touchdowns like Demarcus Robinson did. Juwan Jennings had 6. Pearsall had 3. Debo had 3. Saubert had 1. They didn't get a lot of touchdowns, receiving touchdowns last year from their receivers. So as far as their runners, Garendo had 4 touchdowns. Purdy had 5 rushing touchdowns. Jordan Mason had 3. Josh Dobbs had a couple rushing touchdowns, 1 for Debo, 1 for Patrick Taylor. But now you're adding Demarcus Robinson. And the one thing that Robinson has shown in the OTAs and what we've seen thus far is that despite the fact that Demarcus Robinson does not really have incredible speed, he knows how to move with the ball in the air and free himself open and create separation down the field. I saw it on a couple different examples in the mandatory minicamp where it looks like Robinson is covered. But then he sidesteps, the receiver by 2 or 3 steps and just kind of moves over to the side and frees himself open, down the field. And that's how you gain the kind of statistical, profile that he had last year. He made 31 catches, as I said, for 505 yards, 7 touchdowns. He averaged 16.3 yards per reception. So that's a big number. That means he's a downfield threat. And he's a downfield threat who runs 4.59. He's a downfield threat that runs 4.61. He's in that range. He was never a burner in Florida. He was a 4th-round pick by the Chiefs in the 2016 draft, and was a productive player with the Rams, and I think he's going to be a productive player with the 49ers. But today's news basically, puts the legal side of this thing to rest, and now we're awaiting the league's suspension. And I would imagine a 2 or 3 game suspension is going to be announced for Robinson in the next week to 10 days. And the Niners were fully aware of that. It will complicate how they pare their roster down. They may have to add a receiver and then maybe cut a receiver 2 or 3 weeks in to accommodate for Robinson not being there. But Demarcus Robinson, I think, is a really good add, and I think you've already seen it in practice. Purdy is going to throw the ball down the field to Demarcus Robinson, and he's going to create that separation, and then he's very reliable, very good hands, solid ball skills. But the Niners knew that this suspension was looming, and today the court case side of things wrapped up. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. And also thanks to our good friends at Claw Daddy Arcades. Follow them on Instagram at claw_daddy_arcades to find a location near you. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.